Hello soldiers, Commander Cyrious here. The video is a little different today, but it's really important. A fellow Auraxian needs your help. He goes by the name of Wrel. You may know him as Warpath Wrel, as lead designer, as Michael Henderson, as that YouTube guy. He's worn a lot of different hats to the community, or rather, bandanas. And he's a polarizing figure. There were some controversial decisions he made that turned some people off of Planetside permanently. But for those that are willing to look past that key patch that they didn't like and really think about the entire story, I think you can see a little bit of each and every one of us in him. I want to challenge all of you to think. Have you ever had a moment where you thought, I could run this video game better than the current producers? Let's be real. We've all had that second. It was a bad patch, it was bad design, whatever that thing was that triggered. You're like, put me in, coach. I want to crack at this. But we dream that from the safe position of also knowing it will never really be a reality. That's not the way the world works. But when we think of that moment, we think of it as stepping into the head honcho's seat and having a team of 100 underlings to do our bidding. A technical director that can run the coders, so we can just kind of spell out in vague terms what we want the features to be, and they'll go figure out how to execute it. An art director that can run the art team. So again, that thought we had at 1:23 in the morning, we can mumble our manic thoughts at him and he will turn it into an actionable item for his team to develop. And don't worry, you also have a fully fledged DevOps team that can build out a full back-end tech stack that'll run the game flawlessly with no hiccups, no latency, perfect performance. But now take that dream and strip all of that away. You're an enthusiast, a passionate fan of the game. That whole development team that built the game is getting stripped away. Your task is to go in there with no prior experience and execute that vision without a complete team support behind you. That's where Wrel started 8 years ago. But before we really dive in, I'm going to step back even a few more years to Wrel's fledgling YouTube career. The first video he ever posted with an epic splash screen that really drew you in, with some raw Warcraft 3 campaign mode play. Oh yeah, hey, he started just like you and I. And from these humble beginnings, he rose.
Wrel here with a snazzy but soundless new intro. What I wanted to talk about today is being original, or, thinking outside the box a little bit. This is a Geth Infiltrator.
With his first Thoughts on Better Gaming, a series that would go on to enamor much of his audience.
Hey there folks, Wrel here. I have a few announcements regarding the channel and where my time is being spent in the video game world. But right now I'm very, very interested in Planetside 2, because it's more fun than I've had in a long time, and there's a whole lot I feel that I can learn and talk about there, and a lot of benefit I could provide to the community.
That video being released in December 2012. He had 200 subscribers. He was interested. He was passionate about the game. I'm sure he had no idea how intertwined he would be with the game's lifespan. You know, I've had people ask me the question of, hey, what should I do? How should I get started? What content should I make? And his language right there is what I'd say to anyone. If you can find a benefit that you can provide to the community, whether it's funny meme videos or tutorial videos, that's how you get started. Something that is not internal. It's not about your internal play. It is about, how can I spread this externally? What does it do for someone else who absorbs this information? And that's what he did with loadout videos, with thoughts on better gaming, with teaching moment videos. He just went out there and started making something that he thought would provide good information to other people, to other members of the community. And from there, he was off to the races. I think some people don't quite understand that he started from zero with Planetside. Sure, he had a few videos on his channel, but it was just a handful of subscribers. And shortly after Planetside 2 released, he hit it hard. Cert videos going viral, and then posting almost daily for the first 3 months of Planetside 2. And that's how you establish yourself on YouTube. You don't start with a Fortnite. You don't start with a big game. You find the niche game. You find the game that needs content creators, and you hit it hard. You establish yourself, hey, if you want to watch videos on this, you come to my channel. There's always going to be something popping up. So give this guy props. He put in the work the way no one else did at the Planetside 2 launch. And that is how he established himself as the #1 Planetside 2 creator. So now fast forward a few years down the road, we're in 2016. Planetside 2 has run out its initial hype train a long time ago. In 2015, H1Z1 releases early access, and it's a smash hit. It's all hands on deck. Anything that was still working on Planetside has basically been stripped away to go support that game. And the moment happens. The enthusiast gets the opportunity to turn into a game designer. He's been a community leader. He's put in the time. I'm sure there's tons of people that would argue otherwise, but how else do you look at a community of hundreds of thousands of people and pick the one of them to pull into the development of the game? The one with the most public resume is the obvious choice. And Wrel had that with his YouTube channel and just how much he had put into the game, how much he had helped new players with his tutorial videos, how much free marketing he had done for the game by constantly pumping out YouTube content and keeping its presence up there. So be jealous of him if you want for that, but think of it from a SOE executive perspective. It's already a little bit risky to make a move like this. You cannot go pick some obscure person, even if they're a leader of a big outfit. There's hundreds of leaders of big outfits at the time. And it's a process of kind of picking up your whole life, leaving everything behind, moving across the country. Not something to be taken lightly. Wrel summarizes it nicely in a post, and I'm going to have that linked in the description here. I highly recommend you read it. It's a great summary of some of the choices he had to make. So he walks in a moment where the game is on the ropes. Not as bad as it is right now, but basically its lowest point other than right now. Construction had just released. It basically flopped. H1Z1 was popping off. The writing was on the wall for Planetside unless someone could do something. And that son of a bitch, he did it. He came in without experience and a team that was nowhere the size of Higbee's. I love Higbee, but it was very different conditions he was working with this game on. And he pulls a miracle out of his hat. Let's listen in on the 5-year anniversary, which basically could have been the last Planetside 2 anniversary if he hadn't shown up.
Hey there folks, Wrel here. On November 20, we'll be celebrating 5 years of Planetside 2. Now most games nowadays do not tend to stick around that long. People treat them like holidays, whereas Planetside 2 is where they continue to come back home to. Even amidst some crazy competition like Destiny 2, Battlefront 2, Call of Duty, basically anything that gets a massive amount of hype is something that we'll take some time off for. We'll go, we'll play, we'll get bored, and then we'll come back to Planetside 2 because no other game can offer such massive scale in a sandbox that lets us play basically any way we want. Now, don't get me wrong, the past year has been rougher than most, and on a personal level, I kind of thought we'd be much further along than we actually are, but things happen at a company level, and you can only keep doing your best and continue to keep faith that it all turns out alright. If you want to revisit everything that changed in 2017 and even before that, Iridar has a great website that keeps track of the updates in a format that's easy to digest. I'll link it in the video description below for you. Overall, I feel like this year has been us laying the groundwork. We had to implement a new monetization system so that we can take some of the financial pressure off. Monetization systems are no one's favorite thing, but for you as a player, it means a game that actually gets to grow instead of one that just fizzles out over time. We were able to implement the critical mass alerts, which punctuate the end of the continent lock. We were able to hire not 1, not 2, but 3 new members to the team. And this isn't a shifting of company resources. These are new team members, meaning that we're growing. We're finally starting to add features.
Guys, the reality is you usually don't come back from maintenance mode like that. It's tough for people to remember just how bad it was. We went from extremely stale, lack of development, to Wrel actually getting it back to the point where they were hiring on developers. Now, that's not to say that it was not all smooth sailing. I had my own beef with the producer of the team. He was there to not bother the higher ups. He came in to replace Andy Seitz when Andy Seitz was off working on other stuff. He wouldn't have seniority to make any real calls and really push Planetside to the forefront of the powers that be minds. We needed someone that could really advocate for the game. And I want to make it really clear, this was not Wrel's job. A guy that's coming in as a YouTuber that doesn't have game dev experience, that's just a designer, that's not a producer. It is not his role to play, but we heard the story from Cardo. He's the one that ended up playing that role.
Company is doing its thing. H1Z1 is taking off, and so all resources are going on H1Z1. I still never forget walking from where I was working at in my area over what we call the airport lounge, and there's like this little cubby with just like a few dudes in it, and that was it. And that was the Planetside 2 cubby, and Wrel is in there, okay, working tirelessly, frustrated beyond belief because he just wants some freaking support and he can't freaking get it because everything's on H1Z1, right? And like like you could see the frustration on his face because he just wanted to make something and he couldn't get the support for it, and he was pissed, and he just wanted to make cool stuff, and so like H1Z1 kept doing it, and he was still just trying to do his thing. And so then, we fast forward, and it was probably, I won't go into too many details because I don't want to, but I witnessed him get so passionate, and he went off one day, okay? He went off one day, and he just said it how it was to people extremely high up in the company, and he just let it fly. And I was so mind blown and impressed because you could tell that he just cared and he just wanted to make a good game. And he just straight off, and I was like, oh God. It was one of those moments where I was like, I really hope he doesn't get fired right now, because like, and he just said it for how it was, and he was just totally honest and true, and no one could say anything back to him because it was the truth. And so, over the years, I know that, PS2 has been up and it's had its downs and this and that, and I know constantly Wrel gets a lot of crap. People are always giving Wrel crap, but I assure you guys, a bajillion % on the inside now, and for years, he has always fought for this game. If it wasn't for him, this game would have went away. So as much as you guys want to give him crap, as much as you guys are going to continue to give him crap because that's your job, just keep in mind that 100%, if it wasn't for him, PS2 would have died years ago. Easy.
You can absolutely hate some of the things that happened on his watch, like Combined Arms Initiative. But you either get Planetside 2 gone at the 5-year mark. That's not servers shut down, but that's no active development. And population dwindling to the point where it's not fun to play anymore. Or you get 7, almost 8 more years of it. It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer decision. And some of the absolute best moments I have had in Planetside 2 came under his watch. When resources were getting shifted off of H1Z1 to Planetside Arena, off of Arena, then to Planetside 2, if someone wasn't there advocating for the game, they wouldn't have gone back to Planetside 2. It would have been probably just straight layoffs or launched into something else. The fact that Wrel had proven there was economic viability meant those resources came back to this game, and we got some of the most epic battles ever. Crazy, amazing bastion smashes with epic air battles surrounding them. We got missions that explored the lore of the game. A massive overhaul to Esamir that came with some of the most amazing open field, open world fights, the like of which we hadn't seen since the very launch of the game. We got a whole brand new major facility. For a long time, people have been asking for a facility that had more avenues attack, more protection from air to ground ESFs, more protection from HESH. And this facility delivered on all these things. I still think it struggled from the biolab, heavily favoring the Defender's effect, but this is something that was asked for by the community, and Wrel delivered on it. Speaking of things the community always wanted, and Wrel got in, is Outfit Wars. That was crazy to me. This one didn't make a lot of sense because I don't see how it makes money. They spent so much time making it fair. It's like, I almost felt like having a membership should have been required for entry, so at least you're getting people that are playing to pay. But either way, they delivered for the community and they didn't monetize it at all. So I'm barely scratching the surface here, but I really hope people can look back and ignore that one bad patch that bothered them and think about all the things that did end up in the game that went great and delivered tons of exciting content for 7 to 8 years past when we would have been getting any. Okay, well, that was a lot of backstory, a lot of setup. You guys may remember about 14 months ago, I made a video talking about Wrel and the resume he had built, and that I kind of was feeling that he might be moving on soon. It had been a long haul. He did some great things, but he took a lot of abuse. There's understandably a point where you've done your time and it's time to move on. And as a content creator, part of me was like, oh, let's dive in. Let's dissect this. Let's do retrospectives. Let's get into it. But I didn't, because if you are at that massive burnout point, that's the last thing you want to do, is sit there and just pour over every little detail. So I just kind of stepped back. I know Wrel would have yielded to interviews and all that stuff if I pressed him, but I didn't want to. But it's been a year, and it's time to check in, and my ask is about supporting Wrel as he supported all of our fun in Planetside 2 for all those years. When Wrel joined Planetside 2, it certainly was his passion, but it was not really his baby, right? Someone else had created this thing. He was just catching the baton. When he left a year ago, he had the chance to build something from scratch, and he built a tabletop RPG called Distal. I'm going to let his video do a little bit of talking about what it is.
In Distal, each character is considered a competent adventurer with a fully fleshed out backstory, and we even help you create it. Backstories are a fundamental part of your character, both mechanically and in the narrative, so we make building those backstories as fun and relevant as every other part of the character creation process. The way we do this is by giving you 2 sentences that are completed with 4 prompts, either rolled on a table or chosen by you. The result is a backstory with the right amount of specificity to get your imagination going, while providing functional benefits like proficiencies and equipment, and giving you and the GM narrative hooks to...
Now, when Wrel went off to develop this TT or tabletop RPG, I was excited for him as a game designer going off to pursue his passion and getting to start on something from scratch. But I knew the reality for me is, will I ever take the time to figure it out, to actually read the book, understand the rules, and really dive in to this RPG? So I've seen him progress in the periphery, but I haven't really tracked it actively. But to realize his vision, he really needs this backer kit to succeed. BackerKit is one of those all or nothing crowdfunding sites, as in he has to hit his goal to get the funding. I went ahead and supported him at the limited edition hardcover tier. My hope is that I find the time to actually sit down and play it sometime, because I think it'll be a blast. But even if I never do, it is worth it to me to help him realize his dream here. And so I'm asking all of you out there to consider doing the same. If you're interested, great. It's a no-brainer. Add it to your repertoire of tabletop games. If you're like, Cyrious, I don't know if I'm ever going to use this thing, consider doing it just to support him, just to get him on the road to realizing this. There's a lot of different tiers you can go for in doing the support. The most basic tier is just a digital copy of the whole game. And the benefit of that is there's no additional shipping later. But if you want to have something cool and physical, I like the idea of having a hard copy. You can pledge it that tier. Just be aware you will have to pay for shipping later on if it funds. And I chatted with Wrel, and on top of if it funds, you get whatever cool thing you signed up for, Wrel is going to come on and do a Planetside stream with me, where we'll chat, shoot the shit, and probably do a little bit of that retrospective that I pushed off. Gave him a year breather for it, but he says he's happy to chat about Planetside 2, and we can just pick his brain about what was good, what was bad, everything that went down in those awesome and difficult years. In terms of a deep dive into what the game is, the backer kit describes it so well, so much better than me. It's well organized, it's put together, it's pleasant to view because of the art, and hey, if you back, a big part of that is going to really building out the art of the game. So it will only get cooler, but I am going to push you over to his backerkit website. You can see it in the description. You can probably see it up in the corner of this video to get the full details because it's well spelled out there. If 100 people were willing to go buy the hard copy, boom, it's done. He's at 50% right now. That's the other 50%. But there's a lot of other ways you can get in and support the game, so please go check those out. So that's it, fellow Auraxians. I just saw Planet Men in Need, and I want to go help. If you're willing to do it as well, I really appreciate it, and I know Wrel super appreciates it if you're willing to be a part of helping to realize his dreams. Hopefully it was also just good informative rundown on his time here with Planetside 2. That is going to be all for me right now, fellow Auraxians. I'm Commander Cyrious, and until next time, I will see you Planetside.